Ever wondered what true partnership looks like when one person literally feels the pain and emotion of another? The Aes Sedai Warder bond isn't just fantasy. It's a masterclass in interconnectedness. Join us as we explore the profound psychological and emotional impact of this unique bond and how it shapes the very fabric of relationships in the Wheel of Time. Let's be real. We've all dreamed of that ride or die connection, the kind where someone gets you so deeply they don't even need to ask if something's wrong. But the Aes Sedai and Warder bond takes that to a level most of us could barely fathom. This isn't just loyalty or friendship. It's a magical, unbreakable link forged in trust and sacrifice, one that lets a warder feel his Aes Sedai's cuts, her fears, her joy as if they were his own, and vice versa. Think about the last time you hurt so bad you wish someone could just understand without you explaining. For these pairs, that understanding isn't a wish, it's a fact of life. Take Moiraine Damodred and Lan Mandragoran, the gold standard of this bond. From the moment they tied themselves together, they stopped being two separate people and became something greater. Remember when Moiraine took that brutal wound from the Trolloc blade in the Two Rivers? Lan didn't just see her bleed, he felt the sharp, burning pain in his own side, a jolt that dropped him to his knees even though he was yards away. He didn't hesitate to fight through a horde of monsters to get to her, not because he was ordered to, but because her pain was his pain. And when Moiraine was trapped in the ways, her light fading against the black wind, Lan's despair wasn't just worry. It was a physical ache, a hollowing out that made him reckless, desperate to find her before the bond snapped forever. That's the thing about this link. It doesn't just share suffering. It erases the line between yours and mine. But it's not all agony and heroics. The bond is soft too in the quiet moments. Imagine Lan sitting watch by Moiraine's campfire, knowing she's restless, not because she said so, but because he can feel the flicker of anxiety in her mind. Or Moiraine pausing mid-spell to send a calm, steadying thought to Lan when a battle gets too fierce, a silent, "I'm here," that grounds him in the chaos. These small, unspoken exchanges are what make the bond feel so real, so human, even in a world of channeling and prophecies. It's the way Lan knows. Moiraine hates tea but drinks it anyway to stay alert, or Moiraine understands Lan's stoicism isn't coldness, but grief for the family he lost. The bond amplifies their best selves. Moiraine's strategic brilliance paired with Lan's unshakable courage, each making up for the other's weaknesses. Of course, this kind of connection doesn't come without cost. Warders are trained to lay down their lives for their Aes Sedai, to take a fatal blow so she can keep fighting. When a warder dies, the Aes Sedai feels it like a limb being torn off, an excruciating, soul-wrenching pain that could drive some to madness. And when an Aes Sedai falls, the warder is consumed by a rage so dark it's called the warder's madness, a blind fury that makes them fight until they either avenge her or die trying. We saw this with Ingtar Shinoa, though his bond was fractured, and we felt it when Lan thought Moiraine was lost to the White Tower's politics. His resolve to find her wasn't just duty, it was survival. The bond is a two-way street, and the price of that deep connection is the risk of equally deep loss. But here's the beauty of it. The bond doesn't just demand sacrifice, it fosters growth. Take Nynaeve Almira and Lan, a pair that started with friction and grew into something unbreakable. Nynaeve, the fiery wisdom from Emond's Field, didn't want a warder. She wanted to heal, to protect, to prove she didn't need anyone. Lan, the stoic blade of the Dark One's bane, didn't want an Aes Sedai who challenged him at every turn. But the bond forced them to see each other. Nynaeve learned that strength isn't about doing everything alone, and Lan learned that vulnerability isn't weakness. When Nynaeve struggled to control her channeling, Lan's steady presence calmed her. When Lan was drowning in guilt over his past, Nynaeve's stubborn love pulled him back. Their bond didn't just change them, it saved them. And let's not forget the other pairs that dot the Wheel of Time's landscape. There's Egwene Alver and Gwen Tricand, a bond tested by duty and distance. Egwene's rise to Amerlin's seat, clashing with Gwen's loyalty to the White Tower. Their connection was messy, imperfect, filled with misunderstandings. But it was real, a reminder that the bond doesn't make relationships easy, it makes them honest. When Egwene was held prisoner by the seanchan, Gwen felt her suffering like a knife twist, and that pain drove him to fight harder, to be better. Even when they disagreed, even when they hurt each other, the bond kept them tied, a constant reminder of what they meant to one another. What makes the Aes Sedai Warder bond so compelling isn't just the magic, it's how it mirrors the best parts of our own relationships. Think about your closest friend, your partner. The person who knows when you're lying, who feels your joy as if it were their own. That's the bond. Stripped of the magic, it's choosing to be present, to carry each other's burdens, to love someone so deeply that their pain becomes yours. In a world as chaotic as the Wheel of Time, where the Dark One threatens to consume everything, where prophecies weigh heavy on young shoulders, the bond is an anchor. It's proof that even in the darkest times, we don't have to fight alone. Moiraine once said, "The wheel weaves as the wheel weaves, as the wheel wheels, but we choose how we thread the pattern." The Aes Sedai and Warder bond is that choice made tangible, choosing to tie your fate to another, to trust them with your life, your heart, your very soul. It's not perfect. There are moments of anger, of fear, of loss, but it's authentic. It's love in its rawest form. Messy, brave, unyielding. So the next time you watch Moiraine and Lan stand back to back against a horde of Trollocs, or Nynaeve and Lan argue like an old married couple before saving the day, remember this: their bond isn't just a fantasy trope. It's a reflection of what we all crave: connection, understanding, someone who will fight for us, even when the world is falling apart. The Wheel of Time's greatest magic isn't the one power, or the prophecies, or the dragons reborn. It's the bonds we forge along the way, the ones that make us stronger, braver, more human. And isn't that what life is all about? We're all just weaving our patterns, trying to find someone to weave with. The Aes Sedai and Warder bond shows us what that weaving can look like: deep, meaningful, unbreakable. In a world where everything is fleeting, where the wheel turns and empires fall, that kind of connection is the one thing that lasts. It's the proof that even in the darkest of nights, we are never truly alone. Imagine a connection so deep, it transcends words, sharing pain, joy, and even life itself. That's the Aes Sedai Warder bond, far more than just a magical link. It's the kind of tie we all secretly yearn for, right? The one where you don't have to say, "I'm hurting" or "I'm scared," because the other person already knows. But in the Wheel of Time, this isn't just wishful thinking. It's a tangible, magical promise, forged between an Aes Sedai and her chosen warder, and it changes everything for both of them. Let's dive into what makes this bond tick, the perks that hit right away, and the messy, complicated risks that come with letting someone else share your very soul. First, let's break down the core mechanics. No fancy jargon, just straight talk about what this bond actually is. At its simplest, it's a magical tether woven by an Aes Sedai, usually when a warder swears his oaths of loyalty, obedience, and protection. Think of it like an invisible thread strung between their hearts and minds, one that neither can sever easily. This thread doesn't just sit there, though. It's alive. It lets them share senses in ways that feel almost supernatural. A warder can pick up on his Aes Sedai's location no matter how far apart they are, like an internal compass that never fails. If she's in a dark cave, he might feel a flicker of claustrophobia. If she's channeling the one power, he might sense a warm hum in his bones. And vice versa. An Aes Sedai can feel her warder's presence, his strength, even the rhythm of his breathing as she focuses. It's not mind reading, not exactly. They can't hear each other's thoughts word for word, but it's emotional resonance on steroids. They feel what the other feels, sharp and unfiltered. Take Moiraine and Lan's bond, for instance. When Moiraine first bound Lan to her, he was a man, adrift, a fallen prince, the last of Malkir, carrying the weight of a nation's destruction. She was a young Aes Sedai with a mission that could cost her everything. That initial tether didn't just link them, it gave them something to hold on to. Lan could sense Moiraine's unshakable purpose, and it grounded him. Moiraine could feel Lan's quiet resolve, and it strengthened her. The bond, at its core, is a bridge, one that turns two isolated people into a team, even before they fully learn to trust each other. And let's not forget the tracking. When Moiraine vanished into the ways, Lan didn't need maps or clues. He followed the bond, that faint pull in his chest that told him exactly where she was, even as the black wind howled around him. That's the magic of it. It's practical, life-saving, and deeply personal, all at once. Now, let's talk about the initial strengths, the perks that make this bond worth every risk the second it's forged. For starters, it's a battle game changer. Picture this. An Aes Sedai is channeling a fireball at a Trolloc, but she doesn't see the Fade sneaking up behind her. Her warder feels that split second of danger, a cold spike of fear in his gut, and he's there before the Fade can strike, his sword slicing through the shadow. That's the bond in action. Shared awareness that turns two fighters into a single, unstoppable force. Warders also get a physical boost from the bond. Sharper reflexes, more stamina, a pain tolerance that's almost superhuman. It's like the Aes Sedai's strength flows into them, fueling their courage when the fight gets rough. Lan was already a legendary swordsman, but with Moiraine's bond, he became something else. A warrior who could stand against armies because he knew his Aes Sedai had his back and he had hers. Then there's the tracking. Aes Sedai often send their warders ahead to scout or to hunt down enemies because the bond lets them stay connected no matter the distance. When Nynaeve first bonded Lan reluctantly, let's be real, she hated feeling him so far away. But when she needed to find him during the Battle of Dumai's Wells, that bond was her lifeline. She closed her eyes, felt the pull, and walked straight to him, even in the chaos of thousands of fighters. It's not just about finding each other, though. It's about trust. And Aes Sedai can send her warder into danger knowing he'll come back, because the bond lets her feel his alive, his fighting spirit. And a warder can charge into battle without hesitation, because he knows his Aes Sedai is watching over him, ready to channel a shield or heal a wound if he needs it. But let's not sugarcoat it. This bond comes with vulnerabilities that hit hard, right from the start. The biggest one? Shared pain. When an Aes Sedai gets cut, her warder feels that cut. Not just a faint ache, but the sharp, burning sting of the blade. When Moiraine took that Trolloc wound in the Two Rivers, Lan collapsed to his knees, gasping, because the pain was so intense he thought he'd been stabbed himself. He didn't care about his own discomfort, though. All he could think about was getting to her, stopping the hurt. That's the double-edged sword. The bond that lets you share joy also forces you to share agony. And it's not just physical pain. Emotional bleed-through is just as brutal. If an Aes Sedai is drowning in grief, her warder feels that weight too, like a stone in his chest. If a warder is consumed by rage, his Aes Sedai might find herself snapping at friends, unable to shake the anger that's not even hers. We saw this with Egwene and Gawain early in their bond. Egwene was struggling with her training at the White Tower, feeling overwhelmed and homesick. Gawain, miles away, couldn't understand why he was suddenly moody and restless, until he realized it was Egwene's emotions seeping into him. He wanted to fix it, to make her feel better, but he couldn't, and that frustration turned into arguments between them. The bond doesn't just share the good stuff, it shares the messy, ugly parts too, and it takes time to learn how to handle that. At first, it's disorienting, like wearing someone else's emotions as your own, not knowing where you end and they begin. Some pairs never get past that. They let the bleed through tear them apart. But the ones who do, they learn to distinguish between their own feelings and their partners, to offer comfort instead of frustration, to hold space instead of trying to fix it. Another early vulnerability, over-reliance. It's easy for a warder to stop trusting his own instincts when he can feel his Aes Sedai's, or for an Aes Sedai to grow complacent, knowing her warder will protect her. But the bond isn't a replacement for skill or judgment. It's a complement. When Lan first started fighting alongside Moiraine, he'd sometimes freeze, waiting to feel her signal before acting, until she told him, "Your sword is as sharp as your instincts. Trust them." That's the key. The bond works best when both partners are strong on their own, using the link to enhance their strengths, not replace them. At the end of the day, the Aes Sedai Warder bond is a masterpiece of balance. Joy and pain, strength and vulnerability, independence and connection, all wrapped up in a magical thread. It's not perfect, and it's not for everyone. It requires courage to let someone else share your soul, to accept that their pain will be yours and yours will be theirs. But for those who choose it, for Moiraine and Lan, for Nynaeve and Lan, for all the pairs who stand back to back against the Dark One, it's worth it. Because in a world where the wheel weaves chaos and the Dark One lurks around every corner, having someone who feels your pain, who fights for you, who knows you without you having to speak, that's not just magic, that's survival. It's a reminder that we're not meant to face the dark alone. The bond isn't just a fantasy trope. It's a reflection of what we all want, to be seen, to be known, to be loved so deeply that even pain can't break us. And in the Wheel of Time, where prophecies weigh heavy and heroes are forged in fire, that bond is more than just a connection. It's a promise that no matter how dark the night gets, you'll never fight alone. A shield and a sword, the combat edge. Picture this, a horde of slavering Trollocs crashes through the trees, axes swinging and horns blaring, while a Fade glides behind them, its blade glowing with that sickly black light. Any other pair would panic, triple over each other, fight like strangers, but not an Aes Sedai and her warder. They lock eyes for half a second, no words needed, and suddenly they're a single force. She's weaving fire and earth to block the horde. He's slicing through Trolloc throats like they're paper, moving in perfect step as if they share one mind. That's the combat edge of the bond, folks. It's not just magic. It's a partnership that turns me into we on the battlefield, and it's why these pairs are some of the deadliest fighters in the Wheel of Time. Let's break down how this bond turns them into an unstoppable team. Through synchronicity, shared senses, and that unshakable anchor in the chaos. First up, synchronicity in battle. Let's be real, most of us struggle to coordinate with a friend to move a couch, let alone fight off a darkspawn army. But for an Aes Sedai and Warder, it's like they've been practicing together for a lifetime, even if they just forged the bond last week. The bond lets them anticipate each other's moves before they happen, no shouts, no hand signals, just that silent thread of connection. Take Moiraine and Lan, the gold standard of battle teamwork. Remember the night the Trollocs attacked Emond's Field? Moiraine was in the middle of channeling a shield to protect the villagers when a Trolloc broke through, its axe aimed straight for her back. She didn't even flinch, she just shifted her weave slightly, creating a gap in the firewall, and Lan was there before the axe could fall, his sword driving through the Trolloc's chest. He didn't need her to warn him, he felt the split second of danger and the bond, knew exactly where she needed him, and moved. That's the magic of synchronicity. It turns two fighters into a well-oiled machine, each covering the other's blind spots without missing a beat. Another example? Nynaeve and Lan during the Battle of Dumai's Wells. Nynaeve was knee-deep in channeling, healing wounded Aes Sedai, and fending off aiel when a group of aiel warriors circled her, trying to cut her off from the others. Lan was across the battlefield, fighting 3 aiel at once, but he felt her panic sharp, hot, and fierce, and he didn't hesitate. He broke free, slicing through enemies like a tornado, and reached her side just as one aiel raised a spear. Nynaeve didn't stop channeling, she just shifted her weave to cover Lan's flanks. And together, they pushed the aiel back. They didn't talk, didn't plan, they just knew. The bond doesn't just let them share feelings, it lets them share intent. When an Aes Sedai thinks shield, her warder thinks cover. When a warder thinks charge, his Aes Sedai thinks clear the path. That's the kind of coordination no amount of training can teach. It's baked into the bond, and it turns even messy, chaotic battles into something almost graceful. Now, let's talk about the warder's eyes. That unique advantage of shared senses that makes warders the ultimate scouts and threat spotters. Imagine having an extra pair of eyes, but these eyes are sharper, faster, and connected directly to your brain. That's what the bond gives an Aes Sedai. Warders are already trained to notice the smallest details, a broken branch, a faint scent of Trolloc blood, the rustle of a Fade's cloak in the wind. But the bond amplifies that, letting their Aes Sedai see and hear what they do, no matter how far apart they are. It's like having a super-powered surveillance system that never blinks. Take Lan's mission to track the Black Aja in Kirhian. Moiraine was stuck in the city, navigating political scheming and dark-friend plots, while Lan was out in the wilderness, following faint trails. But Moiraine didn't feel blind. She felt everything Lan did. She smelled the smoke from a Black Aja campfire, heard the whisper of their voices, saw the glint of their rings in the dark. When Lan spotted a group of Black Aja sisters hiding in a cave, Moiraine knew exactly where to send her allies. No maps, no messengers. That's the power of shared senses. It erases distance, turning a warder scouting mission into a team effort. And it's not just one way. Warders get to tap into their Aes Sedai's awareness too. If an Aes Sedai is in a room full of people, she can feel who's hiding malice, who's lying, who's a threat, and that feeling flows straight to her warder. When Moiraine was in the White Tower, surrounded by sisters who wanted to lock her up, Lan could feel the tension in her, the cold dislike from the Red Aja, and he stayed alert, his hand on his sword even though he was miles away. It's like having a sixth sense for danger one that's twice as strong because it's shared. And let's not forget strategic positioning. During the siege of Tar Valon, Egwene was leading the Aes Sedai against the shadowspawn army, but she couldn't see the flanking attack coming from the west until Gawain felt it. Gawain was scouting the outskirts, and when he spotted thousands of Trollocs moving in to surround the tower, that sense of urgency hit Egwene like a punch. She shifted her forces immediately, sending a group of Aes Sedai to block the west and save the tower from being overrun. That's the warder's eyes at work. They see what their Aes Sedai can't, and the bond makes sure that critical information gets where it needs to go, fast. Finally, the Aes Sedai's anchor. Channeling the One Power is no joke, especially in battle. It's intense, draining, and if you lose focus for even a second, you could burn yourself out or lose control of the weave. That's where the warder comes in. The bond is like a lifeline, a constant presence that grounds the Aes Sedai, keeps her centered when the world is falling apart. It's not just emotional support. It's a physical, tangible connection that reminds her she's not alone. And that makes all the difference. Take Egwene during her fight with Mesa-Ana in the White Tower. Mesa-Ana was a Forsaken, one of the most powerful channelers in the world, and she was trying to break Egwene's mind with illusions and dark magic. Egwene felt herself slipping, her focus wavering, the one power feeling like a wild river she couldn't control until she felt Gawain. Through the bond, she felt his steady resolve, his unshakable belief in her, his quiet, "I'm here." It was like an anchor dropping in the storm. She grounded herself, reined in the power, and defeated Mesa-Ana. That's the bond's magic. It doesn't make the Aes Sedai stronger, but it makes her steadier. It lets her hold onto her focus when everything else is chaos. Moiraine had that too, during her confrontation with the Dark One's minions in the Eye of the World. She was facing off against Baalzamon, a being of pure darkness, and she could feel the Dark One's influence trying to twist her mind, to make her doubt herself. But then she felt Lan, his calm, his courage, his unwavering loyalty, and it was enough. She didn't falter. She wove the power with precision, held her ground, and saved Rand and the others. The bond isn't just a shield for the warder. It's a shield for the Aes Sedai's mind. It's a reminder that someone is fighting for her, that she's not carrying the weight of the world alone. And let's not underestimate how important that is. Aes Sedai are trained to be strong, to be in control, but they're still human. They feel fear, doubt, exhaustion, just like everyone else. The bond lets them let their guard down, just a little, because they know their warder has their back. During the Battle of the Shining Walls, Elaine Trakand was channeling so hard, her hands were shaking, her head throbbing. But she felt Brigitte, her warder, even if their bond was a little unorthodox beside her, felt her steady pulse, her quiet confidence, and she kept going. She didn't burn out. She kept weaving, kept fighting, because the bond gave her the strength to keep going. At the end of the day, the Aes Sedai Warder Bond's combat edge isn't just about magic or shared senses. It's about trust. Trust that your partner will be there when you need them. Trust that they'll anticipate your moves. Trust that they'll ground you when you're falling apart. It's a partnership that turns two brave fighters into something greater. Something that can stand against Trollocs, Fades, even Forsaken. In a world where the Dark One's shadow looms over everything, where battles are fought with swords and magic and faith, the bond is the ultimate weapon. It's a shield, a sword, an anchor, and a compass, all wrapped up in that invisible thread between two souls. So the next time you see an Aes Sedai and her warder standing back to back, facing down an army, remember this. They're not just fighting together, they're living together, in every sense of the word. The bond isn't just a part of their combat strategy, it's a part of who they are. And that's what makes them unbeatable. In the end, the Wheel of Time's greatest battle advantage isn't the one power or legendary swords. It's the kind of connection that lets two people fight as one.